Thank you for that kind introduction, Joe. Um, I'm always amazed at what a small state we live in. To know that Joe went to school at North Star Elementary School, that's about an 8-minute walk from my house in Spenard. And when I met my husband, who's trying to take pictures of me back there in 1999, we couldn't figure out why we had not already met in our many years in Alaska, because we knew so many people in common. And at that time, the movie 6 Degrees of Separation was out. And we decided it was not 6 degrees of separation in Alaska, it's like half a degree. Because all of us know somebody else who knows me, or the senator, or Joe, and we all live close together, even though our state spans the entire nation in terms of miles. I'm pleased to be the sponsor of Indigenous Peoples Day, the bill on the House side, and this has been an odd legislative session. We have spent many weeks working only on the budget, and at a time when Alaska is facing an unprecedented economic crisis. You might ask why. I would propose that we set aside a day of recognition for Alaska's Indigenous people on our calendar. The answer is very straightforward. In times of challenge, we need to remember those who've gone before us and who faced far greater challenges than we do today, who adapted and engineered, created and survived. We meet in a capital built upon the land where the commerce and the culture of the Tlingit and Haida people intersected. Here, the Auk and Taku peoples greeted their Tsimshian neighbors to the south. The arts of the people in this rich region, where resource abundance afforded the luxury of time to develop a complex culture, has gained global notoriety for its sophistication and detail. Alaska's largest city, my home, in Anchorage, is the traditional home of the Dena'ina people, whose cousins, the Kenaitze, populate the area where South Central Alaska's gas, oil, and industrial future is being staged. The Taionic people, located strategically on the west side of Cook Inlet, will become a major player in the development of Cook Inlet's energy and industrial future. As we travel north of Anchorage to the Richardson Highway, we encounter the Copper River and Gakona people, whose lands course down to the Chugach of Valdez, where the Tidewater ice-free port serves Alaska's oil pipeline. If we travel west along the Chugach coast, we enter the islands and the coastal region stretching to Cordova, where a rich fishery has sustained thousands of Alaskans for thousands of years. And we would visit the Eyak and Aleut peoples, where the ocean held bounty as well as tragedy for the people of those lands who were the victims of the Exxon Valdez oil spill. Returning to the interior and up the Richardson Highway, that was built during World War II, we can travel down the Tok Cutoff to Canada and meet the Canadian and Upper Tanana Athabascans, who form the ancient guardians of the region, spanning from the Caribou people of Healy Lake to the Eagle Village tribe in the 40-mile country. Back up the highway, we follow the Trans-Alaska Pipeline, which zips its way across the lands of the interior Athabascans, the Dina, Chena, and Tina people, who constitute the first people of the Tanana and the Yukon. Nuch ala woya. Pardon me if I butcher the pronunciation of some of these amazing words. Nuch ala woya, where two rivers meet, produce the rich and diverse culture of the first people of the interior. Upon their lands, Alaska's second city sprawls and faces the challenge of energy and survival, just as the indigenous people have for thousands of years. Up the Haul Road, we pass through the lands of the Chandalar Kuchin of Anaktuvik Pass and Venatai and Arctic Village. Chandalar is the corruption of the word used by early French explorers who first saw these nomadic people traveling with the Arctic caribou and called them gens du large, or nomadic people, which evolved in our tongue as Chandalar. Up the Haul Road we go to the Inupiaq people of the Arctic coastal plain, whose survival was made possible by adaptive technology and ice engineering. It's on their lands that Alaska's oil economy was built and where the Inupiaq, as they have for thousands of years, adapted to these new occupiers of their land and used their ANCSA corporate tools to harvest opportunities for their people. All of the Inuit, Inupiaq, and out west, the Chupik, Yupik, and Aleutian people are gifted with what Dr. Judith Kleinfeld called spatial intelligence in a monograph published decades ago. This spatial intelligence promoted survival. This intelligence and ability, for example, to solve three-dimensional puzzles by looking at parts and assembling them in one's mind without even the aid of paper or pencil, was recognized during the Cold War by the RCA Corporation, who turned the whalers of Cape Lisburne and Point Hope and other locations into the technicians serving America's Cold War high-tech front lines. The late Dr. Oscar Kawagli, a Yupik who founded the Indigenous Knowledge Network within the University of Alaska Fairbanks, wrote extensively about the science and the engineering of indigenous people using their unique and remarkable intelligence. Like their Tlingit, Haida, and Tsimshian cousins, the Yupik and Chupit people of the western coast developed an abstract and symbolic art which profoundly influenced artists around the world. The abstract expressionist movement in mid-century New York was influenced by the design of Yupik masks. The artist Jackson Pollock attributes much inspiration to Western Alaska's indigenous people. Down the western coast we go, visiting the Aleut and Bristol Bay and Kodiak peoples, whose lands and waters sustain one of the largest commercial fisheries in the world. Located here is the nation's renewable treasury of wild ocean harvest. And here, too, Alaska confronts the challenges of ocean pollution and climate change. Along these coasts, some 20 indigenous villages face erosion from rising seawaters. Their fate may well define Arctic and development policy for our state in this year, when Alaska is at the center of attention of Arctic policy. All Alaskans share the lands with the indigenous people, and Alaska policymakers share a common purpose in adapting to change and surviving the crises of the moment. Alaska's Indigenous Peoples Day is being proposed to honor not just our debt to and respect for Alaska's First People, but to acknowledge our shared destiny as we confront our challenges today. I'm very pleased to inform you that the bill establishing Indigenous Peoples Day is scheduled for its first hearing on Tuesday, March 22nd in the House State Affairs Committee. The meeting starts at 8 a.m., but House Bill 275 will be the third bill considered. Please join us. It would be a safe bet to say that 9 a.m. would be a good time to arrive for the hearing. If you're not able to be in the Capitol in person, please join us in spirit. Watch the meeting at akledge.gov under the Live Now tab. It will say House State Affairs. The hearing may also be aired live on Gavel to Gavel on Channel 19. And because there is limited time, the committee has asked us to invite just 2 to 3 people to testify, but please join us. It would be wonderful to have the room full of supporters for the bill. Aklein Gunalchish. Thank you, Selena, for helping me with the pronunciation. Thank you.